Yo, what's up guys? We're going to do a follow-up to my last video. Talked about how I didn't agree with some of Sargon's latest comments, and I mentioned we were going to get to JonTron. My rant about Sargon went on so long I couldn't do both in the same video, so now we're going to talk about JonTron, and particularly his latest debate with a YouTuber called Destiny. I'll leave all the links as always. I'll leave a link to the full debate, which is more than an hour long. I'll leave a link to the highlights of the debate in case you don't have time to watch the entire thing. You know, lots of people don't have time to watch an hour plus YouTube video, but if you want to get the whole thing so you know that no one's taking anything out of context, I'll put a link for the whole thing, as well as JonTron's response video to people critiquing it. So basically, let's go through internet history real quick. I mean, it's only a couple of months, but JonTron is a YouTuber. He plays video games and records himself playing it, whatever, does skits, stuff like that. I heard of him, I just don't watch his videos because I don't particularly like that type of video, but he's really popular. He does funny shit, apparently. He said he always kept his political beliefs to himself because he was afraid that if he said them, being a popular YouTuber, that people would backstab him, turn on him, his fans would be mad at him. You know, it's a common problem that celebrities have. They don't want to voice opinions on certain things because so many people are focused on them all the time. So a couple months ago, he was on a live stream with Sargon and basically just spewed out what he'd been wanting to say for a long time, but couldn't say. But then one day he was just like, "Fuck it, I'm going to say what I want to say, and damn anyone who gets mad at me." Which I was in full support of. You know, I knew, like I said, I knew of him, but I didn't particularly care about his channel. But I never support people feel like they have to self-censor in order to keep their job. You know, that's wrong. So I was fully in support of JonTron saying, coming out of the closet like he's gay. No, no, I'm saying like he should be open with how he believes on certain issues. And nothing he said in that first live stream with Sargon was racist or extreme, in my opinion. He leaned right-wing, he supported Trump, whatever. He did a second live stream with Sargon talking about the destruction of the mainstream media, and that was a response to the whole PewDiePie thing, which is another subject you guys probably already know about. If you watch my channel, I'm assuming you know most of this stuff, because this is the big names, the big shots. What happens with them, and I'm just a little small guy commenting like, hey, that thing, yeah. So his latest thing, he was in a debate with Destiny, and he said a number of comments that crossed the line with me. I supported everything he said up until this point, and then I listened to the debate, and I was just like, even if you just take the word racist as it is, judging someone by the color of their skin, and not this whole prejudice plus power thing as social justice warriors do. Even if I'm just using the real definition of racism, I don't see how I can see JonTron's comments as anything but racist, and I try to look at it just like, you know, I don't want to believe he's racist. He said he's not racist, so I'm trying to get some other meaning besides racist from his statements, and I just can't, because his statements were flat out judging people by the color of skin. So let's go through some of his comments. First of all, he believes in the white genocide. He believes that the lower birth rate of white people in America versus the higher birth rate of minorities in the U.S. is contributing to a white genocide, because sooner or later the whites will not be the majority in the U.S. Right now, I think they're at 69%, so basically 70% of Americans are white, and then 30% of everyone else. He believes that once whites are not the majority, once they become a minority, then that means the country is in a death spin. That is horrible for the country. He doesn't want that to happen. He believes the country will be destroyed or be significantly weakened in all aspects if that happens. There's a number of problems with that. First of all, there's no such thing as a white genocide. I know that will trigger the Stormfront people. That's the white nationalists, one of the biggest websites, basically neo-Nazis. They go in there and they spew a bunch of bullshit. They actually believe the white genocide is happening. All the other minorities are teaming up against the white person. Oh my god, the shit they post. Anyway, they believe the white genocide is happening. It's not happening. Simply having different birth rates, minorities just happen to be higher and the whites just happen to be lower, it does not constitute a genocide. There are no drones of non-white people going around the U.S. just murdering white people, you know, taking over their lands, kicking them out of their houses, you know, how we did to the Native Americans was actual genocide. None of that's happening. What they constitute genocide is that minorities are steadily rising, the whites are steadily lowering as percentage of populations, and eventually, if current trends keep on going, whites will be a very small minority. Eventually, several decades from now, there'll be like blacks, I think, at 13% of the population. They can constitute that genocide. 70% to 13% is a genocide, in their opinion. Which is like, no. It's just different demographic changes over decades in a certain country, which happen to all fucking countries. JonTron likened this white genocide to the U.S. coming into what is now America, killing all the Native Americans, kicking them out of their huts, taking over their land, basically exterminating their race. He constituted that as the same. Which, like, no, a armed assault, like an invasion by a country, is not the same as just demographic changes due to different birth rates among the different ethnicities. That's not the same. So he likened immigration as this invasion. He's acting like Libya, for example, is organizing all these Libyan migrants to apply for visas and apply for citizenship within the U.S., and then they're going to invade the U.S., they're going to make the little enclaves, and then they're going to try to turn the U.S. into Libya. That's what he's afraid these immigrants are going to come over to America and then change America to the country they came from, which is just, that is absolutely hilarious, that he thinks that there's this mastermind of minorities immigrating to the U.S., and then that the minorities actually want that. The people going to the U.S. don't like where they're coming from, otherwise they would stay there. They like America, they like the culture, they want to go there, they want to assimilate into the culture. So there are not enclaves of Muslims, for example, in the U.S. like there is in England. That's a problem of the welfare state and how the government is handling immigration. But here, there are no Muslim neighborhoods, there are no black neighborhoods. All the demographics are spread out everywhere. In my particular neighborhood, there's only a couple of Muslims, but the neighborhood 5 minutes down the street, there's more Muslims, and then there's more black people, and then 2 neighborhoods from now, it's a mix. Like, it's completely random. It's just a result of people having different incomes and wanting different houses for different reasons, different schooling, different locations for commuting, whatever. It's just a natural outcome. So when he says the minorities want to come over here and form these little enclaves, I'm like, in the sanctuary cities, in the parts of LA or DC, I would agree with you. Yeah, that could be an enclave, but the fact that the vast majority of the U.S. is not enclave like that, no. Immigrants coming over here do not want to do that. JonTron also complained about how there are certain places in the world that are incompatible with American values, and therefore he doesn't want people from those places immigrating to the U.S. because their values are inherently not compatible with U.S. democracy and U.S., liberty and values, stuff like that. To which I say, JonTron, that statement right there sounds racist. Now, how did I come to that conclusion? Now, I'm not just going JonTron, like those other critics, just no. I'll explain to you. It sounds like you are looking at a place, Mali, for example, and saying that place is repressive, that place is oppressive, it doesn't have democracy, that place is incompatible with U.S. democratic values. Therefore, anyone coming from there, wanting to immigrate to the U.S., automatically has those values that Mali has, that the Malian government has, and therefore we shouldn't accept people from that part of the world, or at least a small, tiny amounts, and there's not a lot of them, so they don't wreck the U.S. So I say, that sounds racist. It looks like you're looking at a person, the color of their skin, and assuming they have certain values, or do not have certain values based on the color of their skin, which is like, JonTron, come on, man. You cannot look at a black person and know what values or opinions on political issues he has. You have no fucking idea. You can look at overall trends and say, overall, black people vote Democrat more than Republican, for example. But since there are a lot of blacks that don't, when you look at one, you have no idea. You have no fucking idea. It could be Republican, it could be Democrat. He could love U.S. democracy. He could love the authoritarian state that he came from, and he honestly wants to take over the U.S. and make it a dictatorship. You don't know. You don't fucking know. How could you tell by looking at someone? He's assuming that everyone coming from a certain country automatically has the values that that government has. It's like the people are separate from the government. Most people from the third world fucking hate their government. They want nothing to do with their government. They do not like the authoritarian fist that comes down on them all the time and tells them how to live their life and will fucking kill you. They don't like that. So assuming someone coming from a dictatorship, let's say Sudan, for example, North Sudan now, to assume someone coming from there automatically has the values of the Sudanese government is just absolutely absurd. And I believe actually racist. I mean, when you judge someone by the color of their skin, and then say, well, I'm not racist, well then how can I interpret it? Like, that's why I'm leaving the link to JonTron's rebuttal to people who criticize him, because he honestly believes he's not racist. I listened to his rebuttal, I don't, that's not how I interpret it. And I'm trying to be open-minded. I'm not trying to automatically condemn him no matter what and go, JonTron Rant, it just, but when you make a statement like that, I don't see how to come to any other conclusion but you're racist. He believes that white people should have to maintain their majority in order for America to be the way it is. Free, quote unquote. We're not really free, but we're more freer than other countries, so that's what we're working with, we are a liberal democracy. A republic, actually. We have some major problems. The government violates our rights all the time. I'm not saying it's perfect, but we're better than fucking Chad, for example, in North Africa, So, to us to maintain us being better than the majority of the country, whites have to be the majority. Which is like, I thought you weren't racist. You don't judge people by the color of skin. It shouldn't matter what the demographics of America is. As long as the majority of the people believe in American values and liberating the Constitution and having rights and whatever, then I don't care what the actual demographics of the country is. It could be hypothetically 60% Hispanic, 30% black, and 10% white. And I wouldn't give a flaming fuck. Because I'm not racist. Because I don't judge people by color of skin. I don't give a damn if the majority of people that I go to work with are Hispanic in this hypothetical explanation. I don't care that I'm only 10% of the population. I just don't give a shit. Right-wingers constantly say, it doesn't matter if minorities is a minority. They are not persecuted in the U.S. It's just like, okay, well, if whites become a minority, then they shouldn't inherently be discriminated against. That's what he's saying. It's like if JonTron was saying, if whites become a minority in their country, then they're going to face undue hardships. They're going to face discrimination just because of the minority, which is like, but I thought you always say that minorities don't face that much discrimination in the U.S., that being a minority is not inherently a bad thing. That's you constantly say whenever Hispanics and blacks and other minorities accuse the U.S. of being a white supremacy, and constantly keeping it down and elevating the whites. You're like, no, it's not the case. You are a minority demographically, but you still have all the rights that I do. It's just like, well, I mean, if it was a reversal and the whites were in the minority and the majority race, Hispanics in this hypothetical explanation, didn't discriminate against us and didn't make an apartheid system or a segregation system against whites, then we should be perfectly fucking fine. The system doesn't inherently need to be racist. People need to actively do racist things in order to discriminate against minorities. But if you don't do that, just like I don't believe the vast majority of white institutions or white people in general are racist towards minorities. If it was just reversed, then we should have all the rights that we say minorities have. If you truly are racist, if you're saying that being a minority in the U.S. is inherently a disadvantage, then you're saying that minorities right now, Hispanics, blacks, Asians, whatever, inherently face disadvantages. In which case, we don't have the post-racial society that you say that we have. Well, that's a bad term. We don't live in a country where people are inherently equal based on race. As you constantly say, whenever minorities complain about there being discriminating against you, you're like, no, actually, no, that's just a result of people's individual actions, and just whatever, the whole explanation. But why is it different whenever the whites will be the minority? We'll be the minority, but the results of all our different aspects of our lives will still be just a result of our individual actions. So let's make a summary of this. There is no white genocide. You cannot tell what a person believes based on how they look or where they come from. It doesn't matter to the demographics of America as long as the people believe American values and uphold the Constitution and hold the government in check and believe quote unquote American values. I don't care what the demographics of the country are. I care about what they believe in, not the color of their skin. And if you truly aren't racist, then it shouldn't matter if whites become a minority in this country. I certainly don't give a damn. You know, I'm half Hispanic, so half my body is already a minority. You know, it already knows the feeling. So then if this happens, then all of my body will be a minority, unless Hispanics become the majority. Then it'll just be flipped. It will be just the exact same feeling, except instead of my white half being the majority and my Hispanic side being minority, then it'll be flipped. Then my Hispanic side will be the majority and my white half will be the minority. I mean, it's just... I just don't care. I just don't give a flaming fuck. If I'm living in a country that's 90% black and I'm 10% white, you know, if they let me celebrate when I want to celebrate and don't infringe on my rights, I just don't give a fuck that I'm only 10% of the country. I just don't give a shit. If they don't discriminate against me, you know? How is this rocket science? Again, I say that in like almost all my videos. How is this not rocket science? How is this so hard for people to figure out? But Sargon went on so long that